if the father passes, the brothers could very well turn around and say, and this has happened in a lot of cases, that, well, we gave you your dowry. That is your inheritance. If you have been given anything from your parents at all during your marriage or otherwise, that is not part of your inheritance. You get your inheritance when that parent passes away.
That's called a gift. Sabah,
What's good?
have you been watching the dramas?
Which drama?
Well, one
You
in
know we
particular.
love our dramas, me
We
and you.
love our dramas, and most people look at me and they're like, "You don't look like the type who watches them," but I do. So I've been watching on and off. I've been watching this drama called Noor Jahan.
Okay.
In a nutshell, have you seen it?
No, so I'm embarrassed that I haven't because the reviews have been phenomenal. And,
Great
yeah.
rage, Beti. Like, you will love to rant about it. I suggest you get on it.
Okay,
We are 30-something episodes in. So get on
20
it.
minute or 1 hour?
20.
Okay, I'm in. I'm actually in.
You can go through it really quickly.
Yeah.
You'll catch up.
Yeah.
Anyways, one of the things that I wanted to actually discuss today, and it's, I think, an important topic as well, as part of the drama, long story short, and please forgive me if I miss details because I've been in and out of it. I haven't been following it like you guys do. So there's the main lead, Noor Jahan, very loves the men, very misogynistic.
Really, a guy's girl.
Yeah. Really a guy's girl. Has 3 sons. Gets her sons married off. The youngest son happens to be a cousin. Their family background is like landlords and whatnot. So obviously have lots of money. Youngest daughter-in-law's father at some point. This is spoiler alert, so switch it off for a bit and then switch it right back on. Passes away, and then so mother-in-law gets very excited because she also doesn't get along with him, and thinks that because he only has a daughter and she has 3 sons, the 3 sons will inherit everything because he's the chacha. Right? So that whole inheritance dance that we love to talk about especially within our religion and whatnot, that the males will get everything and blah, 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 blah. And I'm sitting there thinking, why? He has a daughter. Why didn't she inherit everything? And then, of course, in the next episode, she does because the father had given it all to her in his lifetime. Anyways, I was very happy. But on that note, I got thinking about inheritance law within Pakistan, within the Muslim world. And we've never really talked about this.
No.
So
In fact, I would say that it's not talked about as a choice, as a purposeful choice.
Okay.
And I think both of us, we are daughters.
Yeah.
With no brothers.
Yeah.
So it's something that matters. to
Something
us.
that we should be talking about.
And that's exactly what we're going to do today with our guest.
Zahrah Vayani.
Woo!
Hi.
Please
Hi, guys.
explain all of this to us.
Yeah.
Sure.
But first, yeah, because you walked into there and first of all, thank you so much for joining us today. This is as Elhaam pointed out, it's a topic that doesn't get talked about enough, but is perhaps one of the most common crimes, if I can be honestly put it that way, that takes place in this day and age. It's a gendered crime. A lot of the time, people don't think about it that way, but it is.
It's a conversation that I've had in my family fairly recently, and we'll get into it.
Yeah.
But before that, this drama.
Have you seen it?
So I haven't seen the drama, but I can talk about inheritance laws.
Okay.
That's my forte.
Oh, it is.
A bit.
Okay, good. We have you.
First, let's properly introduce her.
Zahrah Vayani, tell us what you do.
Oh my God, am I supposed to talk?
Yes, we love doing this.
Okay. I'm a lawyer.
Okay.
I run my own law firm. I've been working in Pakistan for over 13 years now. Before that, I was working in England. I have a team of about 10 associates. We do a lot of work. We do everything from inheritance to property, family, company, banking, and employment law. So, we have a wide range of areas. I also represent the government. I'm the Assistant Attorney General. I've just been appointed in January.
Sorry, let's say that one more time.
I'm the Assistant Attorney General for Pakistan.
For Pakistan.
That's amazing.
Thank you, guys. So just trying to fight the good fight.
I am so happy to have you here. You have been on our list for a while. So I'm really glad that we're finally doing this, and one of many. We're going to get you back also on other topics. But let's talk about inheritance law.
Okay, so when we talk about, for example, is a family where there's only girls and the father passes away and he has a few properties with him and a few bank accounts.
Yeah.
So we sort of divide this whole concept into movable and immovable properties. Movable properties are bank accounts, shares, guns, for example, if someone has any, and anything which is movable.
Like assets that can be passed.
And immovable is land or houses, right? Yeah. So that is the major distinction. Now, apart from gifting a immovable property, which we can maybe brush upon later, what happens is the wife gets 1/8, and then thereafter the daughters get about 1/3, and whatever is remaining, a percentage, that is distributed amongst a Sunni sect parent, for example's siblings. So the parent that passes, it goes on to their siblings.
Right.
So if, for example, the deceased father had 3 brothers and 2 sisters, it would then be divided not in equal proportions, because the sister would still get less, but in proportions to his family.
Right.
Okay, so you mentioned Sunni sect and Shia sect. Is Islamic law or this is Pakistan law?
No, so it's Sharia law,
Okay,
and
so
it's actually
Islamic law.
mentioned in a surah in the Quran, and that's called Surah Nisa, and chapter 4 of that basically lays out all of the inheritance laws, and Surah Nisa is also about women's rights.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is where inheritance laws come out from, and that's where they derive from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So then for the Shia sect, how is it different?
Yeah. So for the Shia sect, the girls get everything. So a lot, and then you'll find that a lot of women, who are only daughters, they want to convert because they say if we can convert, we'll get all the inheritance, and we won't have to share with our father's or our mother's siblings.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And in the case of because this is a conversation that we've had in our family, because it's me and my sister. We don't have any brothers. And it's just my parents. So, and my father has siblings and all of that. So we've had these conversations, and so in the case of what happens in the case of in his lifetime, if he gifts it, say, to my mom, then will I inherit it from her, or will the same thing happen with her siblings?
So it's going to be the same thing with her siblings.
Right.
So whenever a parent is gifting a property, we always say that if you only have a girl child or female children, then you should gift it to them from before, in your lifetime. The moment you do that, it will just be easier for the girl child once she is inheriting, or the daughters.
Yeah.
Right.
I've heard this also. Just, obviously you hear a lot about it. I've been a journalist for a long time, and so these conversations would come up, and as we said, me and Elhaam are Pakistan's most prolific drama watchers, and it really comes up a lot. I have a few questions about this. First, I want to get into you a little bit. Was getting into inheritance law something that you wanted to do, or did you see it as a need, that there needs to be more lawyers learned on this?
I think it sort of falls under family, to be honest.
Yeah.
For me, I felt 2 things. One, I work on topics and areas of law where I find that I'm more passionate about, but also there's some which are very lucrative, right? So when you talk about family law, right?
I love all
I mean, it's true, right? Yeah. So for me, it's family law and employment law, and I'll tell you why. Because when you're talking about family and inheritance, someone's going to die, someone's going to get divorced, someone will have a child, and they will have a custody battle over them, right? So that is lucrative.
Yeah.
Right? And when you talk about employment law, someone will get hired, someone will get fired, there will be harassment at work. And when we talk about harassment, it's also that whole, doing good for the general public, comes in. So it's a bit of both, and that is why I chose these kind of areas as well. But then it also comes property, which is there again, quite lucrative. So I mean, you sort of pick and choose. So you choose your moral and your your everyday how you're going to survive, right?
What is the longest inheritance battle that you have been a part of?
So it's interesting. Now, this is going to get a bit technical, but I'll try and see if you like it.
She's like, you dummies can keep up.
No. So I'll tell you. Now, when someone passes away, so let's assume a dad passes away, and he has, even if he has, so he has female children. So in 2020, they've taken out a law which said that you can actually go and just get your inheritance done from NADRA, and you don't need to go to the court anymore. But you can only do that if you have a male heir. Right?
So I'd heard about this law being passed, but I didn't know the follow-up to it. Because a lot of people were talking about it, and I was like, oh, finally, one step forward. And now you've told me we've taken a step backwards.
So this is Pakistani law.
Yeah. So what happened was there was a federal law that came out, so in Islamabad, in 2020, and then Sindh, as a provincial law, adopted thereafter. But it's the same, in a way, essentially, it is the same thing as what the Sharia says and what was happening before. The only maybe downside is that if you don't have a male heir, you can't go to NADRA, pay an X amount of money and get your certificate. You will still have to go to court and pay a lot more.
Right.
Right? And when you talk about battles, so if you, for example, have uncles and they're not on board with you filing as a petitioner, meaning the person who files the petition, and that has to be a legal heir, then that converts into a suit. So that then means that it can go on for 12 years, 15 years, you don't know, right?
Lord!
And inevitably, there will be a family settlement where you will be either giving more of your share, or if you have some sort of stronghold, getting a bit more. And that might happen after 10 years when most probably the uncles or the aunts' children are fighting with you.
Oh, God. So my blood pressure. Good Lord.
No, but this is a very real thing that happens a lot. I used to live in a bubble, and I'd be like, okay, there's, things happen, and families never fight, and families all love each other and whatnot. Don't laugh.
Families always fight.
Yeah.
Yes,
unfortunately.
Yes. Here's me in my bubble. But as I get older, I realize around me, so many things pop up. Families do fight, and a lot of times I feel like it stems from inheritance, it stems from money, it stems from all of this. And I'm just like, but I would assume that we've evolved.
And there's when I moved to Pakistan, like, I think there's also this thing of getting to know your family as an adult, right? Because you have this perception as a kid, but the thing is, in Pakistan, you are literally a bacha till the end, right? But I kind of had this realization that, I hold this resentment that when I was a bacha, this happened with me and someone said this to me. It was almost always calling me fat in some way or form. And I was like, I will get you one day, uncle. And then I realized, well, no, it exists in others too. Like, my parents might be angels to me, but someone's going to turn and be like, well, there's one time Sabah's parents. And so I think that, yes, inheritance and money and property, and honestly, with the way the world is going financially, I can understand the dollar signs that might hit someone's eyes when they're like, I might get a break here. I mean, it's not cool, but it happens. But I can also understand, like, resentment and sort of taking that out in this way, that you feel that this chunk should come to me because of what I've put up with.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you something. So I'll give you an example of a case that I've done, recently, meaning a year ago. And I actually felt bad for my client after.
Yeah.
Because of the system. So she was the only child left. She had a brother, she had her father. So the father passed, the brother passed thereafter, he had no family, and then the mother passed, right? And her mother had no siblings, or even if my client had no idea.
Yeah.
Right? Because, they were, either they were like estranged or whatever it was, right? And when we filed this case, I assumed that we would get all the inheritance because all the factors pointed to the fact that she was the sole surviving heir.
Yeah.
And so we filed in the district courts. There was a lot of property involved, but not of very high value. That's how you choose between the courts, right? And at the end, so for example, if she had 2 properties and 3 bank accounts, she was only allowed to get 50% of 2 bank accounts as inheritance by the court. That girl was so disheartened by the system that she chose not to appeal.
And
she would have
purely
won the
because
appeal.
of the 1/3 or whatever that
Yes.
math was.
And she would have won the appeal. I guaranteed her, I said, I will not take money from you. Let's go ahead because this is
But it was
a
so
grave
degrading.
mistake. Yeah.
It was disparaging as hell.
Yeah, and she said, she
It's
didn't
not
live
worth
here.
it.
And she said, yeah, it's really not worth it. And she said, I don't want to fight the system anymore.
Oh Lord.
And,
Yeah.
and where will that go? Who will take that property? Who's going to use the rest of that money? She didn't even take the money out yet because she's just like, it's okay.
I mean, as much as I was saying it, I'm not saying it makes it okay that
Yeah.
you have resentment, but I'm saying like Elhaam was saying a bit, like we live in this bubble that like something means something, right? This connection you share with these people, it's blood, it's family, it's Eid lunch, it's the same, nani and nana and stuff like that. And you think, okay, maybe I was saying like, again, not an excuse, but I was saying like, maybe you understand that lurking beneath the surface was this thing. But honestly, the cruelty of
Yeah.
it, that you are, like, what did you have to do with that? Like, what did you have to do with that nuclear family that, you're coming in from the outside and saying things? I mean, I would think like the kindest thing to do is just be like, this got nothing to do with me.
Exactly.
It's interesting. I wanted to ask, like, sorry, because we talked about what happens when you are a daughter.
Yeah.
What about when you're
A wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my next question also.
So if you're, again, if you don't have any sons or daughters, and you are you have and your husband passes, for example, you only get 1/8 of the inheritance.
Still.
Yes.
Oh my God, system. Still.
And then it will just pass on to his siblings. And if his parents are alive, they get 1/6. So it all depends on who's alive when that gentleman passes.
oh, sorry, no,
I'd
please.
follow up.
Yeah.
And so, wife, in the case of coming back to kids, what if there is kids who have been adopted? Well, that's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear about
Could
that
I
too.
ask my question first and then we get into
Yeah.
that just because it's related? We talked about how like the best thing a parent can do is to gift their daughters in their lifetime. Does that also apply to wives?
Of course.
Yeah,
It does? Okay, I just wanted to
yeah.
clarify because I was like, what if
You're
they're
like-
like,
you're
you
like
can't give your wife
husband.
anything?
You're like husband.
So
Yeah.
if I just reply to that and then come
Yeah,
to yours.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes, please.
So so there are two things, right? You have gifts and wills, right, in the law. Now, gifts mean, a gift would be then that you would give a certain percentage or the whole property depending on to your wife or your daughter, even to your son. I mean, you can do it in your lifetime.
Yeah.
A will, although under Sharia law, you can only bequeath 1/3 of your entire estate to somebody via will.
Okay.
The 3/4 have to be distributed to all your legal heirs, which would include brothers, sisters.
But in concept, wouldn't gifting will be sort of similar? The only difference is that the person is dead or alive.
No, but when you have, as I said, with a will, it's only 1/3 that you can give. So if, for example,
Because essentially it's all contract,
Yeah,
right? You're still signing it
so I'll
off.
tell you, if I have a will and I say, well, I want Elhaam to get a percentage of my property, right? Just because I do, and you don't have to be related to me for this, right?
Right.
I can gift you under my will, bequeath 1/3 of my property to you.
Okay.
Right?
By law.
By law. And it could be to a stranger, as I said. But 3/4 will have to go to my siblings or my whoever else
Family
is part
members.
of my family,
Yeah.
who comes under that garb of being my legal heir.
Okay, nice.
Right? So that's also another thing that sometimes, so for adopted children,
Yeah.
so it sort of relates, you can
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that.
Okay.
Right? Because adopted children do not get anything
Because they're
under-
not legal
Yes,
heirs
they're not
essentially
your legal
as
heirs.
per law.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So what what parents do in that case is that in their lifetime they just put
Gift
everything
it.
in their
Gift
in
it
their
or a
name.
will or whatever.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question that brings us back to drama? Sorry. So sometimes when I watch dramas, one of the evil plots of the evil bahu is Gharka is put in hers. How does that stand in the legalities of inheritance? Like,
So anything which is in your name, gifted or otherwise, or bought in your name, for example, yours meaning a wife or
Yeah.
a daughter's, it remains theirs.
okay.
The only, again, that wouldn't fall in inheritance, and there's binami, which is another completely different topic. And that is not, but that would be that if, for example, I buy something and put it in your name, but I have to be alive to then file a case saying she's taken my property away from me and I paid for it. But that is
Okay.
completely, unrelated to inheritance.
Interesting, because I was like,
No,
all
I was
right,
saying-
those bahu's know what they're doing. Excellent plot
But
device.
it's the plot of like not just our dramas, it's the plot of every soap opera, like
Yeah.
soap abroad. It's the plot of everything,
Yeah.
where they just will marry for and then get them to sign everything off to them, or in whatever case, like they figure a way around
Yeah.
it. And we always aspire to do that, but we never.
I
do.
was just gonna say, and I'm looking to take a class if they have one on this. Man, that's really intense stuff.
So that, as I said, that would then work only if the husband is alive to say, well, give me back my property. And then that's also a legal battle, because if you have registered title of any property, then it's yours.
So the best thing, I mean, from what I gather, the best thing to do is just have them put everything in your name while they're alive. That's the safest bet, right?
But I'll tell you what the problem with that is also. There's a problem with everything.
Of course. How many times does the system break you?
God.
Next question.
Yeah, I was going to be like, you've just given me a really good introduction, guys. I don't want to go on that route.
We like to turn every episode into cathartic therapy from
It
two
really-
completely unqualified
We
individuals.
literally, we say it's group therapy.
Yeah.
These
No,
episodes.
I'm getting a feel of it now. So I'll tell you, when we talk about gifting, right? I say gifting a property.
Yeah.
Why gift deed? The main concern a parent has is, what if my child kicks me out of the house before I die?
This comes up a lot.
Yeah. And
In our dramas.
In our dramas.
Choose to see your drama together.
and the problem is that some parents are blessed to have more than one property, and they can sort of gift it to others, their own children. Sorry, I say others. But whereas some only have one house and two daughters, and they're happy to give it to their daughters, even to their sons if this is a different scenario, but
Trust issues.
yeah.
A lot of people have them.
Yeah.
I personally know of families where the kids have gone off on their own, are living their lives, and the parents are here left with nothing after gifting everything to their kids. And it happens. It's not like it doesn't happen, it happens. So I understand that from that perspective. I understand parents being a little hesitant to doing that in their lifetime, or also lazy parents where they're just like,
They're
I
just
call them
kinda
lazy, they're
hoping
just
for the
like, you know
best.
what, we'll see.
Yeah.
When the time comes,
Yeah,
we'll
we'll
see.
see.
And then the time just comes.
Did your
You never know.
families
Then you never know.
watch Bhagwan?
Yes.
I'm sure I just triggered many people watching this. Even our producers, like, ooh, Bhagwan, the Bollywood film, which literally shattered, I think, so many of our summers. In my case, 2 summers. We would come home to my father watching this movie alone, and then just look at us and be like, "You Bhagwan children! If you do not know the plot of Bhagwan, consider your parents sane because they didn't put you through this." But essentially, an older senior couple at the so what would you call it, like the sunset of their lives, I guess. They've made their money, they've had their properties, they decide, let's sell it all and live with our children who we love so much and who we've given everything to. And then just what ensues is they have the worst kids imaginable, separate them, take their money, treat them like people not worthy of stuff. And I think it's I mean, I don't remember how much of inheritance had to do with that, but I do remember that it was said that like your kids are rotten and they deserve nothing and your kids will all leave you and hurt you. And apparently it's happening. The Bhagwan children are real.
It happens, I'm telling you. Everything that we discuss, and we're like, oh, in a hypothetical situation, the reason that we say hypothetical situation, smoke, there's fire. It happens. It happens everywhere. And not just in our country. It happens all over the world.
Yeah.
That said, like I asked, how many times has the system broken you? A, how many times has it broken you? and B, what, in your opinion, do you think that there are any reforms that could be made? Or if there's like you said, that they passed a law recently, but then also backtracked on that law, is what I'm hearing. Is there anything that we could possibly, like collectively as a society, kind of do to like help out or fix this, or not have cases where women are literally struggling and they're like, you know what, it's not worth it, just take my money and go? I just don't want to battle this out.
So I think a lot of it has to do with awareness. Now, when you talk about reforms, you first speak from ground level, right? And unless there's awareness within societies, awareness for women to know their rights of inheritance, there's no way that anybody can stand up for themselves.
Step one.
Yeah. And then, of course, you build up on it. Now, as far as legal reforms are concerned, it is the Sharia, right?
Yeah.
There's not much that one can do.
Yeah, you can't.
The act that I mentioned, which helped with the NADRA system, again, it didn't favor women only because of the fact that you don't know who else is going to come on.
If
there are
they
a lot
can't
of people
go and get it,
Yeah.
then you're not making their lives easier.
And then you see a lot of the siblings of the deceased parent would not want to go to NADRA with the unless the relations are amazing.
Yeah.
Which, you know,
Very rare.
maybe 40%, if
Yeah.
that, and that's me being very positive about it, you know.
Yeah.
So it is something which was brought about
Or
to
like,
help.
for example, you have siblings who are living abroad. Like this happens a lot with people that we know, where maybe the female sibling is here, the parents pass away, the rest of the siblings are abroad. None of them want to deal with the legality of it all, and she's the one running around struggling to get all the stuff sorted. They can only get off this many weeks or whatever to come and sort, and the system takes so long to sort through that they're just like, you know what, forget it.
So there's a solution to that, which would be to send a power of attorney to your sister,
Okay.
who is the only sole, heir in Pakistan.
Right.
The problem again is, would you want to give your power of attorney to your sister? Do you trust her enough?
issues.
And what exactly would you put in that power of attorney? Because technically, one would say, I'd give my attorney to my sister, and then, whatever the proceeds are, I trust her to put the checks in my account.
In a perfect society.
Even though the
No,
checks
this just makes me so sad.
It does.
It bums me
and
out.
the fun bit is the checks come out in all the legal heirs' names, so she cannot actually eat up your money.
Yeah.
You just deposit it in a bank account.
Guys, are you listening? Make life easy for those girls
Yeah.
that are struggling here, and you, for the lack of not knowing what's up. A lot of people, like you said, not a lot of girls know their rights. And that brings me to what is it that, what's the first thing that girls need to know out there when it comes to inheritance law? What is the number one thing that they need to know about their right, and then number 2 and 3 and 4?
So the first
This
thing,
is a personal question I'm asking.
the first thing would be that, if you have a male heir, then a male sibling, then that would then
You're like, kill him. No, I'm joking.
if you kill them, the process starts again.
Never mind.
Don't
let
kill
him
them.
go.
Please don't kill them.
Leave him be.
It'll make your life easier. So,
Send them to NADRA.
Yeah, I'm like, off to NADRA.
so
Underwater sea prison, right? That's what we're going with.
So the brother would always get double of your share.
Right.
So that's the first, thing
Okay.
that they should know.
Yeah.
But that does not mean that they will not get their share.
But the brother can also gift it to you, right?
yeah, but I mean, again,
Like in the
She's
case
like,
of,
trust me, girl, no brother's gifted nobody.
No one does
but
that.
like I'm saying, in families that get along, Sabah, in the case of that, where, for example, I have a brother and it's brother and 2 sisters, and something happens, God forbid, and then law kicks in, and then he gets double, and then we get whatever we get, and then he's like, this is unfair, I would like to gift the extra portion that I got, I'd like to gift it to my sisters. He can do that, right?
yes.
Yeah. Actually, that I have heard. I won't lie.
Yeah.
I do know of a few families, like Elhaam was saying, especially those that are abroad. When this happens, they're like, okay, well, take the sum, and then we're just going to divide it evenly because that just makes the most sense to them.
So that's called relinquishing your right or your share. It
Yeah.
depends on how much of your share you want to relinquish.
Right.
And there have been instances also where, some even uncles and aunts have said, we don't really want it, we're too old, please take all of
There's
it,
hope for
because
our
it was
people
it was
yet.
your father's share, for
Right.
example, or your mother's share.
Yeah.
And that has, it's a process, because
Yeah.
you need to relinquish your shares. There needs to be a relinquishment deed. Everything, of course, goes through a lawyer. You need to, sort of get it registered.
Billable hours.
lots of them. No.
God, I love it. You're like Suits, but they were corporate law. I know,
Which is
but
very-
still.
yeah, but exciting.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
exciting. I thought about going to law school actually fairly recently, but I just love fighting. So like I was like, I have that in me that I
But
love
this
to
is
fight.
this is a misconception, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone always assumes that you argue a lot. You should have been a lawyer. That's not all they do.
Yeah.
Look at her. She's so
Paperwork.
soft spoken.
Yeah,
Not
that's
in
true.
court.
Oh,
But you know, when I was growing up, one of my tayas, he would talk very quietly, and then he'd lean to whoever was next to him and be like, "The Godfather in the Godfather movies spoke quietly because people had to lean in." He goes, "So that's why I don't talk loudly. I'm actually controlling the room because you have to try to hear me." Meanwhile, me and her, well, me more loud as hell. You will hear me.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, it also depends on what kind of cases you know when you're doing what case, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, when you're, because we have if I could add that in, my firm has a pro bono line as well, and I call it a line as if it's a fashion line, but that's how I look at it. So we do free cases for those people, or pro bono cases for those people who are, who earn less than 30,000 rupees, and that could be child abuse, domestic violence, even inheritance,
Yeah.
more women-centric.
Yeah.
But if there comes a family who can't, so we do pro bono and we also do low bono. So someone who earns maybe less than 50,000 or about 50,000, then they can afford some court costs.
Right.
So that doesn't go out of our pocket then, but the legal cost is free. So it just depends on what kind of
Cases,
cases you
you get.
have. And
Honestly, pro bono work in Pakistan by lawyers, like, my hat's off, because it is so crucial for a country who sadly our average income is what is it, like 1,200 USD a year? It's something crazy.
Yeah.
And I've worked with like Digital Rights Foundation quite a few times, so like I know the amazing work that lawyers are doing, and yeah, it's critical, man. And I don't mean to like bring us back to this, but I think you both were talking about something that when it talks about educating, knowing your rights, right? Like you were saying, things you need to know. I wonder, what is the best way to like get this information out there? Like, should it be literally a part of your school curriculum?
So we talk about this once at least in every episode with our guests, where we're like, look, there are certain things, like we had a financial expert on board, and the one thing that I kept saying was that, look, considering that like I should know a lot more than most people out there, I'm still very illiterate when it comes to certain technical terms. And generally with law, there are terms that are very, very technical. How do you get it out to the layperson? How do you get them to know what their rights are in their language?
So there are two parts, like two answers to that question. The first is that I had liaised with the society. They do a lot of very good pro bono work. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to name them.
Absolutely.
please.
Okay.
In fact, we put links and stuff so that people can
so the LAS,
really
so
get
it's the
to
Legal
know.
Aid Society, and I was helping them with this particular women's right to inheritance. So I was there, the on-board council, if you want to call it that, and I was helping with the project. And we took out these leaflets for women. And to tell them about the inheritance rights in all languages, and they were distributed all over Pakistan. And this is for the rural areas.
That's amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel what can be done apart from this is to go to those rural areas and actually talk to such women. Even if they do parda, if women go to speak to women, it's okay, right? So there's a way of handling this.
Right.
And the reason why I even spoke about our pro bono practice was because, you see, this is where that's grassroots level. You have to teach women about what their rights are, because the main problem that occurs is if a woman is married,
Right.
she's been given dowry, she's been given clothes, she's been given whatever she's been given, right? Jewelry, even property.
Meher.
No, meher is from the husband.
Oh,
I
okay,
mean from
sorry.
the parents.
Learning something every day. No,
From the
that I
parents.
knew.
And if the father passes, the brothers could very well turn around and say, and this has happened in a lot of cases, that, well, we gave you your dowry. That is your inheritance.
So you don't deserve more.
Which is not.
By the way, like, can I just say, I know someone who works for us, similar situation, father and mother both passed away. It's just her and her brother. and she had to take off. So I asked her, I was like, why are you taking off? And she was like, oh, I have to go to the Punjab and we have to file some stuff because, inheritance. And there was this one little property. It's really small, but it's this property that we've inherited from our parents. And I said, okay, great. She went there, she comes back. I'm like, okay, is everything sorted? Do you need any help? And she goes, yeah. Signed it all off to my brother. And I'm like, I'm sorry, there's two of you. You also get a part of that property. It's your parents have left it to both of you. He took you there to sign off, which means you signed on a piece of paper, which means you had the right to it. She had no idea. Yeah. And she was like, no, it's okay. He's my brother. He takes care of me. And, and in most cases, that's how they convince them otherwise of their rights. They're like, I'm taking care of you anyway, so you just sign it off to me and I will take care of you. Exactly. Tomorrow he kicks her out of the house. What's she going to do? And this is what I said to her, and she was just like,
Because I think it's a very Pakistani thing. I'm going to say it. I'm sorry that I'm taking care of you in dowry and stuff. For our listeners, is that legal? To say that your inheritance was no.
Not at all.
Can we please say that bold and loudly, please, to the camera?
If you have been given anything from your parents at all during your marriage or otherwise, that is not part of your inheritance. You get your inheritance when that parent passes away.
That's called a gift.
Yeah. And literally marriage. Because I mean, look, I'm not going to make assumptions about this person. If they work here, they're going to watch this episode. But how just kind of vile, to skirt that.
This is the thing. For us, we are when it comes to these things, because we have a little bit more awareness. I'm not going to say I have the level of awareness that she may have because she's in it, right? I'm layperson here in those terms, but I still have a little bit more awareness about these rights than she does. She has nothing. She is coming into it, and I'm telling her, and I'm blowing her mind, and she was just like, oh, well, now it's done. And I'm like, okay, it's done, but is there something else that she can do now that it's done?
So there was a Supreme Court judgment which spoke about settling under duress or signing agreements under duress. And I have in my practice used that and try and favor a lady who has been under duress and asked forcefully to sign something, be it an agreement, be it a settlement. I mean, and this goes in, even childcare, etc., custody battles, etc., but in inheritance as well.
Honestly, the way we both just looked up, because we were like, okay, there is a protection
that's
in
what
place.
I'm saying. There's hope yet.
Yeah.
Which is great, that there is a something within the law to actually give them back what they've lost out of.
Yeah, so it's not in the law itself, but because it's precedent, you can use that.
You can use it, okay.
And also, I mean, of course, one has to prove that there was duress, and the bar is very high.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like a silver lining. Yeah. And it's something that, can sort of potentially be used in the favor of a woman who has had to go through this.
So this is I don't know if this will be related enough. Our producer can make the call whether to keep it in or not. How much is culture playing a role in the way that inheritance is being handled? We touched on a huge part of it. Because, I mean, what we literally just talked about, I feel like if you're running a court of law, you have to know the dynamics of gender within a family and the type of power a brother can wield, or a chacha or a taya or anybody real, not, or even in-laws and stuff like that. So when I wonder is when you think about duress, that is the bar being high, sure, but that can mean so many things. I mean, literally your children being able to still get fees to go to school could be taken from you if you don't give people what they want. And often I think that we're talking about, I know that things also happen to sons and men and, minor children and stuff. I know personally this has happened to some people with inheritance, so I don't mean to downplay it. But we are a women's show, primarily, so I'm going to talk about women. I think that the sort of stress and the agony that we are put through is so downplayed, so dismissed that, I can imagine someone coming into court and being like, yo, of course I was under duress. This man is 6 feet tall and has literally been a bully in my life. And then I just wonder, how does empathy for that, how have you seen that play out in court?
So, okay, so again,
Or anywhere, sorry.
I'm saying
My
a lot
language is...
So there's a lot of gender sensitivity training which takes place especially with the district court judges.
Oh, lovely.
And it is a very good initiative, and it's something that as well as mediation. So for them to try and get, and this again works in family, all sort of family matters, be it divorce, be it inheritance or anything else.
That's really good to know.
That there are, there's some sort of, they have 2 or 3 caps that they're wearing, saying that. I mean, I spoke about that one.
Yeah.
So it depends, right?
It depends.
But there is a step forward, and I just really hope that it sort of helps women in the way that they deserve for it to be helped.
Yeah.
And on that positive note, I'm happy to hear that there is something there, because every time we always think about like courts and we think about like law, and it's like a very common thing for us to just be like, oh my god, now it's going to be in court, it's going to be there forever, they're going to keep battling it out for years and years, and you'll end up losing more than you actually do to fight and win something, right?
Yeah.
So both parties will end up losing essentially. So the fact that there is something like this, the fact that they are getting sensitivity training, which I think honestly amazing. I didn't think that, considering this Pakistan, where we're not even sensitive on a day-to-day basis to each other's needs, that this would even happen. So it's excellent.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. This is one aspect of what you're here to talk about. I would love to have you back on to talk on a broader scale about family law also, because I have so many questions. So many.
Yeah, I think 100%.
Yeah.
What we like to do is we like to bring interesting women on this show and then
just keep
make them tell us, teach us. I have to say, like, we've done a lot of shows. We've been very lucky, and we are continuing to be lucky to speak to such incredible women. Me and Elhaam today were literally looking at you like a professor, and we were like, please, like, I have learned so much. Yeah. And I'm so sorry. I literally just put dust on your pants. That's how I thank you for being on the show.
In all seriousness, this was a topic close to, I think, all of us. We all go through this. We all have questions about this, and we all don't have enough information about it. So you've actually done a service to us all in this room and also out there by giving us all of this information and hope.
Yeah.
That there are people like you on the other end.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
So more billable hours.
Yay.
Like you, more power to you.
That's the takeaway.
Thank you guys. It was lovely being on this.
Thank you so much.
I didn't know what to expect, but I'm glad I came.
Yay. That's what we like to hear. All right, guys. Thanks. Bye.